up, give up a 2 and a 4 to get a guy that's very inconsistent, in my opinion, very questionable. And, I think it's a bad move. I think it's a great move for New England. You mentioned the offensive line problems. Searcy was a guy we talked about there, maybe Whitfield, but now they move down. They still get the lineman, but they pick up a 2 and a 4.
Well, we can debate that up here, but there is no debate in Sewanee because they've made the move to get Bob Whitfield. Let's go back down to Gary Danielson in Sewanee and talk some Falcons. Gary?
Yeah, Chris, nobody really knows. It's all a crapshoot, I think, when you get down into this first round. There wasn't very many impact players in last year's first-round draft, but Ken Herrock, vice president, told us yesterday, kind of tipped his hand a little bit, telling us that they looked at the right eye problem. Even went so far as to simulate blocking drills, covering their right eye. Didn't think it was that big of a deal. I kind of have to agree with them. I mean, you could smell these defensive linemen from a half a foot. I don't know if you have to see them that good. So if he can play, he can play. I don't see the one eye being that big of a deal. Chris?
Well, the Falcons, it's something we'll keep our eye, keep track. I didn't mean to say that. Keep track of. I didn't. Keep track of this afternoon. Is what they do to address the problem, and we'll get into this, Gary. Deion Sanders perhaps becoming more of a full-time baseball player, Brian Jordan becoming a full-time baseball player, or more succinctly, a part-time football player, an 8 to 10 week type of guy. So the Falcons used to think that they were very deep at DB. Jordan coming off a great year. Deion, we know what he does. So that's something they might have to think about.
Yeah, there's no doubt. The Falcons went into this draft looking at the problem. I mean, there's their best cornerback playing baseball on the cover of SI. They knew the type of style that Jerry Glanville likes to play. Pressure the quarterback, lock his corners in one-on-one. Remember, they took the 3rd pick last year, Bruce Pickens. They got McKyer. They really can't count on Deion long-term, but I believe he'll be there for a while. They really like Buckley, but they had to address that offensive line problem also. I think Ken Herrock is going to add a new tool when he goes out on the road from now on. Besides the vertical jump and the 40-yard dash, he's going to take a batting machine, give them 10 swings. If they hit one, they're going to mark them off on their list.
So they know that Bob Whitfield's not the second coming of Babe Ruth. They think he's going to play some football, that's for sure.
No, he can't hit the right field.
We'll keep that in mind. We'll get back to you later, Gary, as the draft continues from New York. The Cleveland Browns have the next selection. We'll be back.
Some go through life saving for that rainy day. Others seize opportunities when they present themselves, like the Acura Vigor, a luxury sports sedan that comes with a leather and wood-trimmed interior, a high-performance single overhead cam engine, and for a limited time, a special lease rate. The Acura Vigor. Now you can save for that rainy day and still have a car worth taking out in it.
Diet Pepsi introduces Aha Month. Aha will be everywhere this April. Grocery stores, restaurants, beaches, everywhere. And to kick it off, we're sending 1 million lucky Diet Coke drinkers a free case of Diet Pepsi. Guaranteed delivery by UPS.
It's the celebration of the year, baby. You got the right one, baby. Yeah.
With 100% Aha.
What's making big news? Look in the Life section of USA Today for fun facts and daily Aha updates.
Tell me what you want, it's yours. Anything you need is yours. What you want is what you get. McDonald's today.
Each year, corporate America spends over $10 billion on overnight shipping. Yet, according to a report in the Wall Street Journal, $3 billion of that is wasted. If you find that kind of inefficiency alarming, call UPS. We can save you up to 40% on overnight deliveries and help prevent your profits from going up in smoke. UPS. We run the tightest ship in the shipping business.
Back in New York, first 8 picks have been done in, under an hour, which is pretty interesting, that's for sure. But we're so far. Oh, boy, there it goes. I've talked about a no-hitter in the second inning. It's a lot quicker than last year's first round, which took about 5 hours, or the equivalent of about a 14-inning baseball game. The Cleveland Browns are up, and I think now, guys, this is where the draft starts to turn. There was some thought, Joe, that they might look for a backup to Kosar and Klingler, tight end, running back. They get Belichick, a defensive guy. Now is where I think the draft takes a turn. Agree?
I do. I think the thing you have to take into consideration here is Billy Belichick, first of all, has got the blessing of Art Modell. Art Modell has made a commitment to this football team to say, we're going to go out and get big, tough, fast football players. They signed 11 Plan B guys this year. Last year, every one of their draft choices was in camp. That's responsibility of management. Art's doing his part. Now it's important that Bill takes the players on the field and gets it done. I think running back is an obvious position. Tommy Vardell may be there. But look for Cleveland to use up every second they can of this 15. They're in the enviable position that Cincinnati was before, that maybe they have a chance to deal. Let's see if we can get the deals we want, because all they want is somebody big, tough, and fast. Think of Turner and King last year. You got to look at this year's draft and say, who's there like that?
To get everybody caught up to date a little bit on what happened to the Browns last year, well, they certainly made an improvement under Bill Belichick. Let's take a quick look at Cleveland in '91.
The Natalie-clad Bill Belichick helped make the Browns one of the most improved teams in the league. He had Bernie Kosar operating a low-risk offense that saw him throw 18 touchdown passes, 9 to second-year fullback Leroy Hoard. Belichick's influence on the defense was evident. The Browns forced 33 takeaways, ranking among the best in the AFC. First-round pick Eric Turner missed the first half of the season, but became a force, registering 84 tackles and 2 interceptions.
So the Cleveland Browns certainly improved in opportunistic football. They also made a big move in getting James Brooks. I mean, and that to add him, Mel, to the running back core. Kevin Mack is still there. Leroy Hoard, the guy that made the most unlikely of catches all throughout the season.
Can play run support very well. Needless to say, the Dolphins. Capital punishment.
I know, Joe, you're liable to lose a luncheon on this with Mike Godfrey. I know Mike Godfrey yesterday said, hey, Tommy Vardell's the man for the Cleveland Browns, and I can't disagree with Mike on that. I think Tommy Vardell, we talked about it yesterday for 4 hours, is a guy that is viewed by, I know Bill Walsh had said it, the best pick will be Tommy Vardell. Not necessarily as the best player, but he will be the best pick overall by the team that selects him. And, of course, the Cleveland Browns, when you look at what they really need in the backfield, Belichick wants to pound the teams. He has Hoard. You know, he had a bad year, bounced back strong last year. He also has Mack, who's kind of iffy. You don't know if he's going to show up and be as good this year. And Tommy Vardell is just a productive, dominant player. When he worked out a couple weeks ago, he had never run for the clock. That time of 4.73 estimated. The first time he ran 2 weeks ago, 4.48. Belichick, Ernie Accorsi, Mike Lombardi were out there for that workout. Have been keeping a track of the situation. And evidently, from what Jack Mills has told me and Tommy tells me, the Browns are interested. But also 2 other players, tight ends, Derek Brown from Notre Dame, Johnny Mitchell from Nebraska, are there right now as well.
Man, that would add up, because think about the low-risk offense that the Browns now run with the short, dinky passes. And remember, they're used to having a guy named Ozzie Newsome to catch some balls at tight end. They don't have one now. Will they get one? Let's quickly check in with Chris Myers, who's chomping at the bit in Big D, but you got some word on the Browns, Chris.
Yeah, we're waiting for the Cowboys to happen, Chris, but the Cleveland Browns love Tommy Vardell. In fact, they've labeled him a modern-day Larry Zonka. The bruising fullback, of course, was so dominant with the Miami Dolphins. A Cleveland official told us this morning they were blown out of the water when the Bengals selected David Klingler. That's who the Browns were eyeing, was David Klingler. Now that he's gone, in fact, Cleveland thinks that Cincinnati will deal with Kansas City still in a possible trade, sending Klingler to the Chiefs. But at this moment, the Browns are considering trading down. San Francisco has also reportedly been interested in Tommy Vardell. At this moment, they're in love with Tommy Vardell, and they'll take him with their pick unless they get a better offer and trade down. Chris?
All right, Chris, we'll check back with you. Less than 2 minutes to go on the pick by the Cleveland Browns. Very quickly, guys, you mentioned 2 names, Mitchell, Mel, and Derek Brown. Like Klingler, it may be the only quarterback to go in the first round. All of a sudden, there are 2 stud tight ends. They haven't been this deep, at least in the first round, for a while. Teams looking for tight ends. Maybe Giants, maybe Jets. There are several others, maybe Cleveland. This is a place where there might be some movement right now.
Well, Brown is the #1 guy right now, but Mitchell has really surged up because of his great speed. He runs a 4.6 at 262. Now, he wasn't a dominant blocker, but they feel that will improve. And because of his great pass receiving ability, he's very intriguing to teams picking this early. Dallas Cowboys, I learned from Joel Siegel just now, his agent, that the Dallas Cowboys have 2 representative scouts with Dale Carter. So you have to think Dallas wants Dale Carter from Tennessee, maybe a trade-up possibility involving